Have you ever been told to, pick a lane, to just stop dabbling in so many things and specialize already? Well, if your curiosity feels less like a straight line and more like a big tangled web, then this explainer's for you. We're about to show you how to turn that so-called weakness into your greatest strength. We've all heard it, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. And let's be honest, it's not usually meant as a compliment. It's this little warning that you're spreading yourself too thin. For a lot of us, it's a genuine source of anxiety, especially when it feels like the world only rewards the super specialists. And this constant drumbeat to specialize, well, it creates a real problem for anyone who's naturally curious. We're told we need to dig one single, deep well, but our gut instinct is to go out and explore the entire landscape. So it's totally normal to look at your resume and feel like it's just a random collection of dots, right? Especially when you see colleagues who've been connecting the same dot for their entire career. We get it. But after we validate that feeling, we are going to completely flip it on its head. We're going to look at the science that shows why your scattered path is actually a superpower in disguise. Okay, so to really understand why your generalist approach is so powerful, we need a new mental model for how the world works, because, you see, the rules of the game have changed. Let's talk about kind versus wicked worlds. And at the absolute heart of this new model is this idea of a learning environment. Just think of it as the game board. It's the context where we learn things, where we make decisions, and where we test out our skills. Now, these game boards, they basically come in two flavors. On one hand, you have kind environments. These are predictable, the rules are stable, and you get immediate, clear feedback. But then you have wicked environments, and they're the total opposite. The rules are constantly changing, patterns are really hard to see, and the feedback you get is often super delayed and confusing. Think about it like this. Chess and golf are perfect kind worlds. The rules are set in stone. Every single move you make has a clear, immediate consequence. But now, think about trying to navigate your career, or launch a new business, or tackle something huge like climate change. Those are wicked worlds, where pretty much the only thing you can count on is uncertainty and change. And this distinction, this difference between kind and wicked worlds, this is everything. It's the key to understanding why that old advice to specialize is becoming, well, dangerously outdated. Let's take a look at the specialist's blind spot. So here's the crucial insight. Hyper-specialists are the absolute masters of kind environments. Their deep, focused knowledge is a massive advantage when the rules are stable. But what happens when the game itself fundamentally changes? That's when that deep focus can suddenly become a huge, crippling blind spot. And this brings us to a really critical question for anyone trying to succeed today. I mean, think about it. If you're the world's greatest locksmith, what do you do when you're faced with a door that opens with a voice command? Your key is useless. So how do you open a door that has no keyhole? Well, you need a totally different kind of tool. And that brings us to the solution. A system that actually turns your diverse knowledge into this powerful problem-solving engine. It's called the FAR Transfer Protocol. The core idea here is to tap into what's called your personal library of metaphors. Now, what is that? It's basically the treasure trove of concepts, patterns, and mental models that you've collected from all your seemingly random interests, everything from the rules of improv comedy to the biological structure of a coral reef. It sounds complicated, but it's a surprisingly simple three-step process. First, you take a complex problem and you strip it down to its basic core structure. Second, you rummage through that mental library of yours for a completely different field that happens to share that same underlying structure. And third, you borrow the solution from that other field and you apply it to the problem you're facing right now. This is such a brilliant example of how this works. A software engineer might just see lines and lines of code. But a software engineer who also happens to be a musician, they might see the way different functions interact as a kind of musical counterpoint. That connection, that analogy that no one else would see, can lead to a huge breakthrough. That's the power of FAR transfer. So let's bring this all together. What does all of this actually mean for you and your scattered interests? It means it's time to stop seeing them as a liability and start seeing them as your wicked advantage. It's really time for a mental software update. The old fear was jack of all trades, master of none. The new reality in our wicked world is master of creative problem solving. See, your expertise isn't in just one thing. Your expertise is in connecting many things. And that right there is the core message.
In a world that's constantly changing, your ability to connect the dots between ideas that seem totally unrelated, well, that's not just a nice-to-have skill. It's your superpower. It is what makes you indispensable. So, here are your marching orders. First, start embracing your generalist nature. It's a feature, not a bug. Second, actively, intentionally build your library of metaphors. Read outside your field, learn a new skill, talk to people who think differently than you. And finally, start looking for ways to use the FAR transfer protocol to tackle the wicked problems in your own life and work. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Think about the biggest, thorniest problem you're facing right now. Okay, got it? Now, think about the most random thing you're interested in. What if the solution to your biggest problem is hiding in plain sight, in the very last place you'd ever think to look? Your wicked advantage is there, waiting to be unleashed.